Hello YouTube, and welcome to the much anticipated sequel. Well, maybe, kind of. For the previous ranking we did, last time we went over the waifus of Library of Ruina, and you can check the video out in the description. I'll put a drop-down card as well for you to just click on the video that way. But this time we're discussing the Husbandos. So all the lovely male characters and not so lovely throughout Library of Ruina's story. The tier list is sorted roughly in like chronological order that will be like bringing them up outside of like the main quote-unquote characters being the first ones that we'll talk about, and then the rest of like the reception guests will kind of go in roughly chronological order to when we see them show up in the story. And I'm gonna have to pause this one when recording a lot more because I do not remember some of the names or details of a lot of these people that will be going about. But fun little thing too, there was no tier list for Library of Ruina Husbandos, so I made one myself. So I'll also link to the tier list that I made public. I made an account with the tier list maker so that anybody could use it if they wanted to. So if you end up wanting to make your own and maybe share some of your results with it, I will post a link for that in the description as well. But let's get going discussing all the lovely, sexy males. And while we're on the topic of discussing lovely, sexy males, there's something else I want to bring up. Or rather, bring out, perhaps. Ta-da! So this is something that I've had for a while, that I've had resting in the wings. Oh, see what I did there? But, so I haven't done much practice with this yet, and I don't know how to fine-tune a lot of the facial rig details, especially part of the issue is my webcam setup isn't great, so it's not 100% tracking my mouth and eye movements. So from some test recordings I was doing and just practicing with it a little bit before I recorded, sometimes it'll get like an ahegao type of face, if you know, you know. So try not to let that weed you out too much, but generally give me any and all feedback about the rig just as much as the rest of the video if you have any. Even if you want to like leave two separate comments, one for like the tier, like discussing the things, one for like feedback on it, or like separating the paragraphs, whatever. I would appreciate thoughts on the VTube rig and just the idea in general of me using this going forward more. I think I want to try to give it out at least a good test run. I did spend a bit of money on this, and I've actually had this for a solid year now. I don't know, I just never got around to actually using it. I felt like, you know, didn't make sense or would ruin the vibes of some of the videos I was recording, whatnot. But if this goes over well, I might start using it in some of my gameplay and stuff too, because one of the nice things is VTube Studio has a perfectly implementable green screen, unlike what I've got IRL. So much easier to put this into the post-editing stuff, so I think it'll look a lot nicer to just drop it off in the background of videos, or in like games and stuff like that, without it being as obtrusive as my webcam can be at times. So, but enough preamble aside, let's get into the ranking of the characters. First up, we have the oh-so lovely and enjoyable Roland. And I mean, I don't think I need to make much of a case to you guys for you to buy me putting him in Best Boys, but I will still go over the details about what makes him such a fun and lovable character. So, right off the bat, he is our main POV of the universe of Library of Ruina. He's sort of like a self-insert, like he was who we observe the story unfolding through, throughout most of it. So that naturally sort of builds us a bit of an attachment to him as a character. But he's not just a bland self-insert, no personality, no, you know, character that you see with a lot of self-inserts, like for example Persona series. Their protagonists never say or do anything. That's by design so that you can easily put yourself in there, but also this game doesn't do that, and I like that and respect it a lot, because Roland is a fully fleshed out, very in-depth character with clear traits, motivations for his traits, that are really interesting and fun to explore. And I'm sure that most of you that are watching this have probably seen or played through Library of Ruina yourselves. But on the off chance you're not you haven't yet, or this gets you to want to check out the game yourself, I'm not going to go into the heavy specifics for details that are heavy spoilers and whatnot, but I will discuss, broadly speaking. He's a man who has a very reserved personality initially. Before he actually goes to the library, we see from flashbacks, he very much grew up in the streets by himself, and his mentors taught him to, have his own privacy. That's why he always wore a mask when he was doing his missions, in order to keep himself safe and so that the city wouldn't come back to bite him. But as he comes into contact with Angelica, and the two of them have a very, very loving, budding relationship that authentically grows over the course of their interactions together, and them doing jobs, and them getting married, and, all that stuff. He comes out of his shell more, and it's fun to see the flashbacks to before he is, because when we first see him in Library of Ruina, he is the nonchalant jokester type of character. At least that's his facade he's got put up there, where he doesn't care too much. His popular saying is that, this is this, he doesn't let things bother him, again, on the surface. But there's very clearly a lot of depth to him that's going on, and it becomes very clear as the game gets deeper and deeper in that this is this mentality is very clearly just a front and or a mask or a smokescreen to try to distance himself from things personally affecting him, and it doesn't work. Eventually it begins to break down more and more as we get to see cracks in the shell forming, and towards the end of it we start seeing more of his true character, his true motivations, and there's just a lot of cool stuff going on, and he's just a solid character. I could see myself enjoying spending time with him, enjoying getting to know him on a more intimate level, that type of thing. And especially with the way he was interacting with Angelica before things go to hell in his life, and things take a drastic turn for the worse. I mean, he very clearly was a fun person to riff off of, especially as we're going to get to discuss later on when we mention some of his best friend. He just seemed like a good, fun person to be around once he sort of came out of his shell a bit. So, he's going on Best Boys. Yesod! Oof, this might get me sort of pinned to the stake or what have you, but I'm only going to be putting him in Husbandos, I think, for now. I like his aesthetic a lot. I like his demeanor in a lot of ways, but also, at times, he can be a sort of vibe killer, like a buzzkill, in that he's straightforward and meticulous and stiff and very rigid, very formal, I guess, as evidenced by like the way he dresses, but also the way he sort of, I don't want to say polices, but like forces that sort of adherence to his standards on like Roland and a lot of his interactions, where he's seen like straightening his outfit out and like straightening his tie, that kind of stuff. But I just get the feeling that if we were in a relationship type of thing and I'd be trying to express myself and or have fun with things, there might be a lot of times where he sort of tries to rein that back. And maybe to be fair, sometimes it could be for my own benefit type of thing, but it feels like he could be kind of a buzzkill at times, and I might even end up walking on eggshells, not feeling as comfortable showing my full self because he can be a bit judgmental at times. So that's gonna be why he goes there instead of Best Boys for me. Still great, but I have some minor qualms that kind of keep him out of perfect quote-unquote tier. So next up we have Netzach. Might be another controversial one for me. I'm just gonna put him in acceptable for me. Don't get me wrong, I love his vibes for the most part. I like his aesthetic, but his whole personality kind of boils down to he just drinks a lot, and it's not really something I would be interested in pursuing long time. I mentioned it in the previous one with Olga, how like it's kind of her whole thing. She drinks a lot, and that's like what a lot of her interactions are formed around. And the same is true for Netzach. Now, obviously, in the game, Roland enjoys it too and has his fun with it. But there's a stark difference between Roland enjoying having a beer with the boys is probably, you know, in a sense, is how it's sort of presented when he's having his scenes where Netzach brings up drinking and he indulges with him. Whereas with Netzach, it's sort of just his natural state is that he's been drinking, or he is, in some ways, either hungover or just too tired and or lazy to really put much effort into things going forward. Don't get me wrong, I can relate to parts of that, and the whole, like, being low energy. I suffer from insomnia myself, so I sometimes struggle being super high octane at times. As much as I would like hanging out with them, I have a feeling if we were to be, like, attempting any sort of actual relationship type of thing, it would be a bit difficult for me to come to terms with the personality traits he displays that are, like, prominent and, like, primary for him. Like, I think that would cause a lot of butting of heads, and it could end up causing an eventual sort of tear in the relationship if they don't get mended easily. So he's going unacceptable. That said, I totally understand if you put him higher. No shame, no judgment here. I'm just letting you know my own thoughts on it. Next up, we have Chesed cheesed. I've always pronounced it Chesed, but how you pronounce it? He's also going to be going in best boys for me. So I could see a case for people saying that he could be a little bit boring, and I might even have put him lower and rate him off as boring at times if it weren't for his interactions with one character in particular. Him and Jabura with her are starkly contrasted to the interactions he has with Roland. Because with Roland, he is very, like, formal, very friendly, very trying to help you as best as he can, but not pushing too much on you. Very philosophical, and generally a very helpful person. But his interactions with Jabura also show that he very clearly has a playful side, and a not quite bratty, but I can't think of a more accurate term at the moment. But, like, he very clearly tries to push Jabura's buttons as much as he can because he finds it fun to see her, you know, get mad. And he also probably very clearly enjoys the, you know, her chasing around and probably even beating him up type of thing, or like, because she is definitely no ifs, ands, or buts stronger than he is, because she's just like, I mean, she's Jabura, right? But so I think he enjoys that. I think he enjoys the playfulness of it. And so I can see I would definitely very much enjoy that aspect of relationship as well, where, you know, you have the very kind, supportive, caring side, but also the playfulness. Like, there's not much more I could really ask for. And it might be kind of similar to me with Jabura Angela right now, and for a while, in that these two might be kind of interchangeable for number one for me. I'm not sure. Unlike with the waifus, I don't know if I have a clear-cut, this is the number one for me. So we're going to kind of figure that out as we're going, which is going to be kind of fun with this list. I don't have all my thoughts on these characters, because I haven't really thought of a lot of them in that way until making this. So, next up, we have Hokma, and I'm putting him in the nah. Like, not even boring or why. For me, so much of his personality that we see in the game just really rubs me the wrong way and is so much not what I want to have in a relationship, or even like a friendship, really. Granted, that part of this could be projecting based off of him and Roland maybe not having compatible personality types, but also his interactions with Angela. Like, I really don't like his personality in many ways. So firstly, he very much is set in his ways and very much gives off he knows better than you, and makes you feel stupid for not seeing things from his point of view. At least that's like how I've been reading him from his interactions in the game. He also is very hypocritical, but doesn't really... and again, I'm recording this before I've beaten this in my second time around, and I don't remember if that gets remedied later on, which maybe it does. Maybe that might pump him to, like, boring or something instead of nah. But, like, he's just very much... very hypocritical, doesn't take accountability. I mean, he basically is deep-throating Ian, who, by all accounts, is just awful in a lot of the things he does and what we see of him. And I haven't played Lobotomy Corporation, so maybe you learn more about Ian, maybe he's not as bad as this game makes him out to seem. But like all the interactions we see from him, like he just seems like a real piece of work. And Hokma basically idolizes and worships him, and acts like him 2.0 essentially. And I don't like that either. That he seems to just not even fully be his own person, to the point where he's just devoting his life to trying to fulfill this other person's goals. Which I understand possible hypocrisy in me saying that, because a lot of characters are kind of doing that with Carmen, where their life goal has now become seeing her life goal out. But there's just something about the way that he goes about it, where he basically is sort of like adopting their personality instead of going about seeing it in their own method, seeing it through. That just rubs me the wrong way. And also, he's very preachy and sort of shoving his beliefs down your throat as well, which is one of my personal biggest no-nos. You can believe whatever you want in many ways, but forcing like religious views or other views that don't have to necessarily be religious, though he does happen to head the floor of religion, so it does sort of naturally lend to that perspective for me. But I just really don't like people that try to just force their views on other people. I think having open, honest discussions are one thing. They're great. They're healthy when adults are able to do it without letting emotions get in the way, without it resorting to name-calling or insulting other people's beliefs. Like, I think, sharing and discussing those types of things are great, but forcing it on other people and judging other people so harshly and all that stuff really rubs me the wrong way. And also, like, instilling your beliefs on your views of how, like, of the things I'm doing. That's a whole other discussion that I don't want to get too down that rabbit hole, but he really rubs me the wrong way in pretty much all aspects of the way he presents himself. And there aren't really any redeeming qualities or traits to him that, like, make up for that for me. So it's just no. I wouldn't even want to associate with you type of thing. So he's going there. Maybe I'll bump him up to, like, Y or something later on as I'm discussing more characters, but it's just, no, he gives me a very visceral, ugh, type of reaction. Much more so than probably most of the other characters we're going to discuss. So that's why he's there. Next up, we have Argalia, and he's going to be prime example of if evil, why hot type of category. So, because personality-wise, do not really like him that much. Yeah, he is charismatic at times, and he can be a bit playful, but he's just deranged in a not fun way, and, like, I don't even, like, fully understand his reasonings for what he's doing or anything. Like, I know they go over it a bit, and I, like, know why, but, like, I don't get it, if that makes sense. Like, I get the motivations behind it, but it just isn't quite adding up for me, as to how, like, the things that have happened to him have led him to this conclusion he's at. So he seems like the crazy and not unlike the fun kind of crazy like Toga is, for example, from My Hero, where, like, I enjoy that aspect of their, like, psychosis a bit. With him, it definitely is a detracting thing for it. But I won't deny, aesthetically speaking, big fan. Obviously, if you couldn't tell by the VTube model I have commissioned, big fan of that, like, sort of twink or femboyish type of aesthetic. And so, that's why for me he's in this high up category, because I do very much vibe with his aesthetic, but don't really gel too well with some of his other stuff that's going on with him. On the other side, we have an evil character that I'm gonna put in just why. Like, if you're in a relationship with this guy, he's just gonna be constantly trying to, like, make these deals for you to do what he wants. Like, oh, if we go see my parents, like, he'll be, like, whipping up these convoluted contracts for, like, I know you don't want to do this thing, so let's make a contract out of it. And it's always gonna favor him, even if it seems like it's good for you on the surface. And I just... That's also kind of his whole shtick, is he likes to try to make these deals with people. But he also likes to mentally manipulate people, as we see... not so much see, but, like, there are several instances in the story when people are close to having mental breakdowns, and he speaks to them, reaches out to them mentally, and tries to push them over the edge to breaking down. So I feel like he would try to foster the worst qualities about myself, and try to, like, just turn me into, like, a worse person if I was... So just... Actually, no, we're gonna put that in nah as well, then. I've talked myself into nah. Like, he is just... He will actively try to make your life worse, which I think puts him below, Hokma for me. Because Hokma I just do not like and do not gel with in any sense of the word, but this guy would be actively trying to ruin my life, I feel like, so we're gonna put him there. Next up, we have Oswald. This is close. He's a joyful dude, if we don't take too much into consideration his whole horrifying twisting people, turning them into not people, basically, like just these weird puppets when, well, not quite puppets, that's not the right word, because there's a puppet character that we'll be discussing very shortly, but... So, on the one hand, I want to put him honestly in Husbandos / Best Boys, because he's such an enjoyable character when he's on screen. He's funny, he's got an interesting personality, it's kind of fun to try to figure out what the hell he means by some of his weird phrases he uses. But on the other hand, there's also the fact that I feel like it's very likely he could turn me into not a person anymore, like he does with many of the other characters that he interacts with, like, with Emma and Noah, I think the names are, like, and I wouldn't want to end up like that. But you know, if I pass the vibe check and go along with it, maybe... Actually, no, Emma was going along with what Oswald was doing and sort of convinces Noah too, from what I remember, and they end up like that. So, as much as I want to put him up higher, just because of the practicality of the fact that he would very likely turn me into not me anymore, I'm just gonna put him kind of here. If evil, why hot? You know, I kind of dig the clown aesthetic too, out of just topic, like off topic, like clown girls are just for me. I don't know. There's something about that sort of aesthetic that just really pushes a lot of my buttons, and it does not ring true on the other side of the spectrum as much, but his is more interesting and appealing than like just clown makeup for me. Like, he's got, I guess it's more for him, it's more the gesture aesthetic, but so I kind of like his outfit. It would be nice if we get to see his face at some point, because I don't believe we ever really get to see beneath the mask, but yeah, like I said, there's a lot of great things going on for him, but he just gets knocked down to this tier because I don't want to turn into like a puppet or a weird creature or what have you. Next up we have Jae-Heon. Not fully sure the pronunciation. If you know it by, you know, any of these pronunciations that I'm possibly butchering, feel free to let me know in the comments. But so on the one hand, they're very clearly a daddy in that, you know, most of their motivations, without going into too many spoilers, are motivated by their fatherhood and things involving it. So, you know, they've got clear daddy energy. But on the other hand, they seem a little straightforward and almost like boring in like their personality from what we see of them. Like, they're not all that fun when they're on screen. They're not... They don't say much outside of just like what motivates them, which is their revenge schemes and stuff like that. So I'm also specifically using this picture because the other picture, you know, doesn't gel as well on like a list like this for me. I have it in there, I might put it in too, but like, if we're talking about like this, I think, yeah, you know what? If we're talking about this version of him, pre all the stuff that happens, I would say he'd be in like a Husbandos tier list, because by all accounts that we have of him, he's a deeply caring, father figure type character. But if we're going by this version, post all that stuff going on with him, I would put him in like probably the boring, maybe even Y category, because at that point, I mean, I just don't feel like he has enough humanity going on. He, you know, intentionally like hides his face as much as possible. So like, yeah, this version of him would be in the Y category for me. So that said, before all of it, he seemed like a pretty good dude, for the most part, though obviously capable of awful things if pushed into a corner type of thing, as we see here. But at the same time, without spoiling or going into too many specifics, what happened to him is, you know, fairly fucked up. So I don't fully blame him, you know, entirely for going down the path they did. I don't think I would have in his shoes, but, like, I can understand where he's coming from a bit, you know? So, alright, now is gonna be where I'm gonna have to pause between every entry, because what the fuck are these names? Because we've moved on from all the special, or, like, yeah, important characters that have a lot of screen time, and now we're on to the guests. Pete is up next, and he's a little boring for me. I mean, I do just sort of dig his gruff, like, aesthetic a bit, but, like, I'm also just gonna kind of 2 for 1 these two here. They're gonna go in the same category for me as well, but, like, just kind of a little bit boring, because all we see of them is they're just trying to survive, and we don't really see much else for them, so there's just not a lot to work with for them. I mean, I would put him slightly above Mang-Chi, I guess, to say the guy's name, just that he's the leader of the group of them, and he is, like, the most, I guess, go-getter, like, driven of them, but still, neither of them are just that interesting to me here. Next up, we have... this one is very funny to me, because one of my friends' shares their name, and it's even been in some of my gameplay videos that I've done with, like, co-op stuff. Like, if you watch the Escape the Backrooms, Yoon is in that. But yeah, this is Yoon, and actually, this is a tough one for me in that. Wait, no, never mind. I was mixing Yoon up with somebody else. No, Yoon is going into the Y category for me. They very much see other people as tools. Like, they don't seem to value other human life. Like, we don't see really any positive human traits in them at all. So, and I mean, I don't really care too much for the aesthetic. Like, the hair is all right. The outfit is, you know, I mean, I like the suit and all, but, like, nothing about it is, like, really drawing me to them. And when all we have to work with is their personality being like that, where they just view people as sort of like tools, they seem kind of cold-hearted and like cynical even. Like, it's just like, nah, don't really like that about him, so he's gonna go there. Because, like, oh shoot, we're missing a character actually, because the person he sends in, one sec, let me grab him quickly. Oh my god. Sorry, small side thing. As you can see, I had it sorted, and because when I try to add it alphabetically, but I added it as a cluster, and so I just put them in based on their names. And now I gotta resort all of them based on chronological that I had it set up, because when I went to add Finn to it, it reset this. So now, I mean, when you guys see this, Finn will be there, like, if you try to use this to your list, because I updated the format I made, but this will take like 10 minutes to be back. Okay, all reorganized, which you're not gonna be, yeah, because now you can see, you know, I've got them organized like this, like I had before, but, yeah, anywho. So, where was I? Yeah, the way they treated and disregarded and didn't care too much about, like, the overall fate of Finn, is why he's going there. But on that note, Finn, you know, I could get behind Finn. He seemed like just like an earnest, well-to-do, well-intentioned, you know, maybe a little bit boring from what we saw of him, but he knew what he wanted, and he was, you know, doing his best to earnestly seek it out, the means to, you know, achieve his goals, which I respect and I liked. And he was a very kind person. He was willing to take on, you know, extra burdens to help other people. So, I mean, a bit naive as well, because he was obviously, you know, in over his head. But to be fair, like, all the guests are in over the head when it comes to the library, so I'm not going to really hold that against him. Because, yeah, from what we just saw of him, he had many chances to do things differently, be more selfish, and or, like, look out for his own self-interests, but he didn't because of his beliefs. So I really respect that, and I like that. But, you know, we don't see too much more from him, so I can't put him above some of these other characters. But, you know, from what we see, I like what we saw. So, next up we have... what is this guy's name? I'm kind of lumping the Brotherhood of Iron together in this one, and they're going in the Y as well. Like, I know there's, like, Mo, Consta, and Arnold is what their names are. And I don't know how many of them would be more, like, male or female. I don't think it really is super straightforward. Sorry, I was reading Arnold and thinking forward. It's not super straightforward what their genders are, but regardless, they're just Y. Like, their brains are fried by their crappy knockoff, you know, and, like, body replacements that they had, and they're just not really anything to gain from it. Like I mentioned last time, they'll they're not in full faculty over their like bodies, like in that like they probably couldn't regulate their strength well. So I just feel like I'd try to hold their hand, maybe walk across it like down the street, and just they would get startled and just crush, absolutely just demolish my hand, and like I don't know, like I just there's no physical intimacy to be had. Their personality is not like there's just nothing there for you. It's like why would I be interested in that? Next up we have Taein and McCullin, and I mean these are both just gonna also be going together in the same category of nah. Actually, no, actually, we'll put them up. We'll put them here. I mean, the thing is, they're just like serial killer psychopaths. Like their whole shtick in the quote unquote office they join up with. The only reason they're even part of an office, which is technically on like the law-abiding side, is that it lets them murder people. Like that's their jobs. They go kill people like that, and they very clearly all relish in it. So I just, I'm not really interested in that kind of regard. Next up, we have Walter, and maybe this is a weird one, but I'm gonna put him in Husbandos as well. He is, very stern, very by the books type of thing. When at least most of the time, but he has a very strong sense of duty and caring for his fellow people. Like he very much takes his role as a protector extremely seriously, and tries his best to do what he can to, keep people around him safe type of thing. He's also got a bit of that, like getting into almost like the gray wolf type of territory, where he's like getting up there in age, but that has but he's like aging gracefully from looks of it. So all things considered, he just seems like a pretty, for the most part, like acceptable dude. Like he's kind of got that quiet, reserved energy. But he's also not afraid to do things off the record and to like shake things up and do things differently, like as seen by when he works with the Backstreet Gang. Like I think they're like the Stray Dogs, right? So like he's not one-dimensional in his stoicism and whatnot. So there is some depth to it, enough where I could be like, I could enjoy this. I might end up liking that a lot. So next up we have Jack, and this might be very strange for people given where I ranked. I think he's actually going to be going higher. I'm going to put him in the if evil, why hot category. I don't remember where I put Pierre, but Jack is very much goes with the flow of Pierre. Which you could say as a knock against him, as he doesn't have as much of his own like fleshed out personality as he does, because he's kind of just like her assistant and wants to like see her dream come true. But on the flip side to that, he very much is willing to try to put his best in to try to help the people he cares about deeply. Like he devotes his whole life to helping Pierre out. He's not as interested or invested in it. He doesn't take it quite as seriously as her, though he is still by all like not to write off. He is a cannibal and like a possibly like a sadist. Like not great personality stuff going on, but like in that regard, but he's very clearly willing to go above and beyond for people he cares about, which is nice. And he's got a kind of nice, calm, like reserved demeanor, so I don't think there'd be a lot of fighting happening. Like I think he would be very much the kind of person you could have open discussions if there's issues in a relationship happening. So I think he'd be pretty not quite enough to be in Husbandos, I don't think, because again the whole cannibal thing is a real big deal breaker in that sense. But I like his aesthetic as well. He's strong, tall, dependable, muscular, like very much could fill a protector type of role. So yeah, he's gonna go there. Next up we have Mars. Mars is gonna go in Husbandos for me. A lot for similar reasons to why Lulu is ranked so high. I like the interactions and the general personality that we saw on display, the back and forth that was going off between Mars and Lulu, and so it could be very easy for me to imagine what what a relationship could be like, because I could sort of compare or put myself in the shoes of the other party, of being Lulu, and I think I would have fun with the back and forth demeanor that they have. He's the more reserved, cool, laid back one that is fun to tease. So I could see myself being more on the side of Lulu, where I would, maybe have fun just, poking fun with and, like, starting some minor conflicts for the fun of it type of thing. And he would very clearly be fun to riff off with that. So he also, very clearly, cares. He morally is a good, upstanding person, which is what puts, some of the more, maybe, quote-unquote, boring characters like, Finn and Walter up higher than some of these other characters because, at the end of the day, I wouldn't want to be partaking in cannibalism, that kind of stuff. I would want to, if I was to be settling down with somebody, be doing it, for the most part, on the up and up. Like, you have to be very appealing for some of these, like, more evil characters. Next up, we have San, and let me think, actually. I mean, on the one hand, he cares about the people around him, but he's also, I mean, let's not sugarcoat it. He's kind of a bitch. Like, his first instinct when shit hits a fan is to be avoidant. In the case of Liwei of Ruin, to run away. But I also think that would mean that in relationship stuff, he would try to avoid conflicts, and he wouldn't want to work together. Or he would be much more skeptical to, like, avoid the difficult but necessary conversations when there are problems coming up in the relationship. So I'm gonna put him in boring for me because we don't see too much of his. I mean, he does have, like, some moments with, like, some of the others, but, like, I don't see enough about him that I like to put him above boring. And he's got some issues that, like, would cause problems, like, in a long-term health of the relationship. So he's gonna go there. Next up is Kalo. I think Kalo. Kalo. He's gonna go in the. Part of me, like, I very much don't gel with his personality type. So yeah, I'm gonna put him in bottom of Y, I think. Not quite in the nah, because there are some parts about him that I like and respect enough to go above this, but yeah, he's gonna go in Y. He's very, like, brutal, and, like, you need to do exactly what he says, and you need to, like, abide by all of his rules. Actually, now I think about it, like, he very much, like, sets a lot of these arbitrary rules, and if you break them, there's severe consequences. I'm gonna put him here. I don't think he's as bad as Pluto, but because actually he would ruin my life, and they're pretty interchangeable, I guess, because he'd ruin my life in the sense that if I break one of his rules on, like, a bad day, he might, like, permanently, like, maim me in some way, or, like, cause physical trauma. So he's gonna go down there. I mean, I like his aesthetic more than Pluto, so he's probably above him, because, he's actually a person. And like I mentioned earlier with Walter, he kind of had, that, like, gray wolf, or whatever they call it, like the fox, like the older gentleman appeal to him. But, like, personality-wise, it is like, scraping the bottom of the barrel. Like, there is not really any redeeming things about him, and a lot of his traits are actively going to be just awful in a relationship, because, I mean, he would just look down on you the whole time. Like, he would view himself as, like, the driver of the relationship, and if you try to, like, express your own thoughts or make any sort of thing that, like, statement that differs from how he's viewing things going on, I feel like he would just, no, yeah, that'd be bad. So, two of these next ones are going to be going our rapid fire. We're going to put these two in the nah as well category. Actually, I'm going to put them in the Y. I think they give me similar vibes to these two. So, what are their names? Let me look it up quick. We got Gyeong-Mi and Zulu. Both of them are very much revelry in carnage. They just pick fights all the time. They just want to get physical at the drop of a dime, and they are brutally physical. Sure, they're decent looking, but, like, I don't fuck with that energy. But on the flip side, going up into, I would say, acceptable, we have Dino/Dino, and he is very much like the sane man in a group of insane people in the Stray Dogs. He's very level-headed, very calm and collected. He doesn't really actively partake in the violence, from what I remember. Like, he's not, like, stomping on, like, the corpses and, like, like, flipping the blood around like some of the others are. He's very much just sort of calm and collected. Now, he can very much be led to violent acts, but he seems to try to, like, rein the others in, which, when you're in a scenario where the norm is to be one way, and you sort of go in opposition of that at times, to me, that speaks kind of strongly of him maybe having a better moral compass, but given the awful circumstances that, like, he probably found himself in, as many civilians, or, you know, people do in the city, he had to adapt to what he was, you know, the environment he was stuck in. But even still, it seems to be, at his core, a mostly, decently put together person. And so, yeah, I would put him acceptable. Next up, we have Rain, and he is, like, probably going to be the very top pinnacle of boring, you know, in that... I mentioned this a bit with Mika/Mika, who they're both very much like the fun police, from what we see of them. We don't see a lot, but they are Randing and Olga. They are sort of like stern and like no nonsense type of personality types that we could see. And I don't fuck with the vibe too much, you know? Like, I would like to have fun a lot, and I just think they would be constantly reining me back. Like, they're kind of like the minor issues I have with Yesod taken to like an extreme from what we see of them. So, and also aesthetically, like, not really digging the aesthetic. They look too childlike for me, you know, like, they look like it. Yeah, no, just not much going on. Like, they're boring. I don't think they're, you know, underage, but they don't look old, so that also just, you know, puts them down even, you know, further in categories. Next up, we have Tommy. Now, full disclosure, I could totally understand, you know, why somebody might put them fairly high up, because they're sort of that meek, submissive, I don't even know if they're quite femboy, but like twink, or whatever you want to call them. Like, I could see somebody, like, because they're very much the more passive, agreeable, moldable type of personality type, so I could see why people might put him higher. I'm just gonna put him in acceptable, though. He's very low self-confidence, very meek, and I don't have, like, a desire to mold a partner, or I am not a dom type of character, so I wouldn't be interested in being the, like, dom in the relationship or that type of thing, which I feel like he kind of needs, as we see with Mary. Not to say she's like a dom in that regard, but she's very much the person that takes reign, is in control, you know, like, is the one that decides things for them, and is like the basically caretaker of the relationship in a sense. And so I think it's fine. Like, maybe things would work out, maybe if I got to know him better. Hard to say, but from what we see of him, there's not a lot going on. But I wouldn't put him so far as to put him in boring, because, you know, I like his aesthetic more than some of these characters, because I do like that look he has, like that style of, again, as evidenced by the VTube break you're seeing. You know, I like that more, like, girlish style, so there's that. Next up, this one is kind of similar to the Brotherhood of Iron. Like, the weird-ass carnival members are all going into the nah. Like, they just kill and or eat me, probably, and they're gross, weird monstrosities. Not much to really say here. Next up, we have Yan. Yan is gonna be going in Best Boys. I might rearrange, like, the different tier, like, placement for now. I gotta think about it more, but my you know, initial gut instinct is Yan is a Best Boy. Like, you know, he's great. He is, you know, top tier character. You know, again, like I mentioned with some of the other characters, aesthetically, you know, he's got that sort of, you know, girlish, twinky, you know, femboy type of aesthetic, which I really fuck with. Personality-wise, though, I like, you know, what we see of him. He's sort of reserved, but, like, he's trying to make positive changes in the world, and what little ways he thinks he seems to be able to, because, you know, the deck is stacked against him, the world is fucked up, but he's trying to, like, help out where he can. He's giving people prescripts that are not, like, going to get them killed, as, you know, like, that are weird, and he's trying to keep in line with the vibes of the prescripts. But he's trying to also, like, help people in his own way, which makes what happens to him in the end a little bit more tragic. But, you know, like, let's just, I like what we see of him. You know, he's great. Next up, we have... I gotta look up these names. Yang and Gin or Jin. So Yang is gonna go in... this is tough. He is a little shit, like, and he gives off little shit vibes. Like, he very much plays into the superiority complex of Seo, and he has it himself. So I think I'm gonna put him in probably boring for me. We'll put him like here, I think, though. In that, like, I wouldn't really get much out of it. I could see why some people might like him because, you know, you know, his aesthetic is decent, Rono. It's decent. Nothing that is like ticking all my boxes, but like it's a perfectly acceptable aesthetic for me. But I wouldn't be much into the whole like trying to like. I feel like you'd have to be like, you know, maybe if you rank him a lot higher, you would enjoy rat taming it, because that'd basically be what you'd be doing. But in this instance, the way he's set up, it just not really my style. And he's also, you know, very sadistic. He very much enjoyed like cutting hands off of people and like whatnot. Like, so like not great personality wise for that either. Gin or Jin, on the other hand, he's more stoic, laid back, but we don't see too much of him. But I feel like I would gel more with him. He's less vocal and more reserved. So I'm gonna put him like above him in boring, but still not really, you know, there's not a lot going on there for me that I would like. We're gonna kind of keep on in the boring train a little bit, and Stephan is gonna go here in boring, I think. He's just very doom and gloom and like a Debbie Downer, honestly, and that's all we see about him. And I feel like he would just sort of, over time, if I were to interact with him a lot, he would just sort of ruin my vibes and maybe even like make me just join him in being kind of bummed out and depressed. So Liwei, though, I believe that's how you pronounce it. He's gonna go on bottom of acceptable for me so far. He's much more put together. He takes command of situations. He tries his best to try to adapt to a constantly getting worse situation. I like his aesthetic more as well. His outfit just works better for him. I like his hairstyle. And, you know, he just seems like a decent dude. We don't know a whole lot about, but, you know, I can see myself wanting to put in the efforts to try to get to know him better, you know, unlike a lot of these other ones. Next up, we have Philip. This is tough. I feel for Philip, I really do. And, you know, the way he acts, kind of like, you know, Jack, and that we see how he acts when he is interested in somebody, like the way he interacts with Yuna is nice and sweet in that sense. But also, he's very, very, I guess, fragile would be the simplest way to put it. Well, actually, no, maybe that's not super fair to him. You know what? I think I'm talking myself into putting him into, like, Husbandos, and that... So, he's very... Before all the awful things happen to him, you know, he's very reserved, but very kind. He's very, like... He tries to help Yuna out, and, like, you know, he, like, makes a great tea, which is, you know, something I would like. Like, he could be a good chef, maybe a good caretaker type of person. And it really... He kind of gets his second wind of sorts when he starts to manifest a partial ego, and honestly, he might have even been able to manifest a full ego if it wasn't for the fact that he got just cheated out of like being able to like grow past his trauma. Because when he was at his absolute lowest point, he got sent to Oswald, where I believe it was like Oscar or whatever, like, you know, gave him advice that would take him out if things were going south, type of thing, and it takes him out and dumps him in the worst place he could have possibly gone, in the presence of a master mental manipulator that just breaks him down and uses the guy as the person he cared about, the people he cared about the most, but especially Yuna, and just sort of mentally shattered him. So I think my initial, like, he being fragile is probably not fair, because I think it really took the deck being stacked against him for him to reach the point he's at. So I think with that in mind, he'd be pretty solid. Yeah, let's go like this, I think, with these now. I'm gonna go like that. Now I'm looking at them more. Next we have Salvador. I'm gonna put him in Husbandos as well. From what we see of him, he's a pretty kind dude. He's got that, you know, like I said, that fox thing going for him. But he's very straightforward. Like, he's kind of a jokester a bit. Like from what I remember, there's like a lot of there's very positive vibes with the Dawn office. Like from what we see of it, everybody, like the people, very clearly get along with him very well. He's a nice, you know, most part morally upstanding dude from everything we can tell. So there's not really much going against him. There's just also not like much going for him to put him above some of these other characters. I think I'll go like that though. Next up we have Alloc. Now Alloc is gonna go in like Y. There's not much going for him as far as personality goes. He's sort of reserved and like cautious, but I mean I guess he is like very dedicated to his tasks that he's been given, but there's just not a lot really going on for me. That said, we got Bono. I'm gonna say Bono because it fits my agenda better. Oh, Bono is gonna go in the you know, if evil, why hot category. Now we obviously can't see his face, but from what we can tell of like, you know, Alloc and their gang at the gays office, maybe not spelled that way, but you know, I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth, you know. Yeah, but from the gays office, they very much they have higher tier 7X than we saw earlier, or like body modifications. And so with Alloc and Alloc, I think her name was, they have very much like body like not inhuman looking weird stuff going on for them. But Bono is much more humanoid. Like from what we can see of him, like I could very easily see this as just like a mask or like a helmet or something, and then he's just got those, you know, Doc Ock limbs, which, you know, he could use for all sorts of like, you know, pinning you down and Dami type of energy going on with him. And personality wise too, I kind of get that vibe from him. He was very much a like, he seemed more like aggressive and dominant type of thing, but he wasn't like psychopathic like some of these other aggressive characters are. So, you know, he can get it as far as I'm concerned. Not a lot going on to take him higher than if evil, why hot, but you know, he belongs there as far as I'm concerned. Next up we have Mumu. I'm gonna put Mumu and Oink together in... Actually, no. I'm gonna put Mumu in bottom of acceptable, Oink in boring. I'm gonna put him here, I think. Mumu kind of has a bit more of like a scared, you know, like fitting his mask. He's very much like the sort of nervous, scared rabbit aesthetic and personality, which could be, I could maybe get behind. He also is, I mean, they're both very, very evil. Actually, no, yeah, let's put them both in the Y, I think, because of the whole evilness to them. Yeah, we're gonna put him in Y, actually. I'll put him above him, but no, I talked myself out of it. They're just too interested in like horrific torture. You know, I would be. I'm not opposed to some, you know, a partner that might throw me around, maybe even beat me up a little bit. But like, there's a difference between beating you up and like the way they like to get their music is like extreme. Like we're talking, you know, like breaking a bone and like, you know, like ripping sinew out so that you're screaming in agony. Like that's what they see as music. So we're just gonna put those both in the no. Oscar, I'm gonna put, he's not quite, I would say, in the, well, yeah, he's not quite in the Husbandos for me, because he's not as, he's a bit more of an asshole to Philip when he goes to see him. So I would put him in, like, if evil, why hot, like, you know, kind of between these and acceptable. Well, actually, nah, he's gonna go, like, right here, I think. I think he would be acceptable, but he is kind of a bit of an asshole. And granted that I don't fully blame him in that the perspective he has going in on Philip is that he's the only survivor when everybody else went somewhere and died, and so he probably views him pretty poorly and thinks of him as a coward and that kind of stuff. But at the same time, like he doesn't really seem to recognize that Philip just had something really traumatic and awful happen to him, and like he doesn't show much in the way of sympathy for him. And we don't see as much of it. He's much more, like, hidden, like, the way he looks. So it's harder to tell if I would like his aesthetic enough. All I can really see is the bottom of his chin. So he'll just be going unacceptable. Next up, we have, kind of like I did with some of the other categories, the sweepers. I don't know if any of them are male or not. Like, it's harder to tell with them. But they're all going in, like, the Y category. They have a community sort of going for them, like, so there's that, but just don't really fuck with their aesthetic or their vibes at all. And they create gruesome in what they do. They, like, kill people and extract their blood and stuff. Just, nah, miss me with that. Next up, we have Valentin. I think I'm gonna put him up in Best Boys. Bottom of Best Boys, I think, for sure, but I think he just, from what we see of him, he very much is outspoken, and about, like, the indignity that's going on with him. He very much would, if there was a problem, I think, in a relationship, he would try to, like, do all he can to, like, resolve it. So he would try to have those difficult conversations, but he also is willing to compromise. And when he comes to care deeply about somebody, you know, he's very much a ride or die, like, very much loyal to a fault to Eugen, and all the stuff that's going on with them. He shows a lot of concern for his fellow members with all that's going on. He's a very respectful person, and I don't know, he just gives me very good vibes. I also like his aesthetic a bit. I like the way, not so much the fact that, you know, he's got a bandage and he's, you know, clearly been beaten to shit, but, like, you know, like, outside of, like, the bandages, like, I like the hairstyle, I like the outfit. Like, he's got the drip on, he's got that riz, you know, I like him. Next up, we have Noah and Emma. Now, they are not, though, going together. Noah is going in boring, because he kind of has this sort of, kind of similar to Stephan. From what we can see, he has a pretty cozy life, option available to him, and that, I believe. Actually, let me double check. It's either Noah or Emma that was born into wealth, and the other one is trying to help them. Okay, yeah. So Noah he's from the back streets, and he is very cynical, very depressed, pessimistic. When things go bad, he views them in the worst light possible. Like when they make a mistake at their job, he's immediately, like, jumping down the rabbit hole of, oh, we're gonna get fired. My life's gonna be ruined. Like, this it's all over type of thing. Whereas Emma, I'm gonna put in, for now, Husbandos. I'll talk about it more and see if I talk myself into putting them higher. But Emma, on the other hand, cares very deeply about Noah, and they're from, like, a wing, so they have a very comfy lifestyle that they could take, but they're sort of putting that aside to try to help their dear friend, compatriot Noah, that they care a lot about. And they're working with him instead of, living a comfortable life in the wings, and they're extending the invitation to Noah to come with him and work in the wings instead. And whereas Noah has his pride that he's trying to maintain, he doesn't want to just accept the help from Emma, and he wants to, like, work his way up on his own type of thing. But, Emma, cares very deeply. Emma, he cared a lot. He was very kind. He was very patient. And, we'll put him in Best Boys too, I think. Admittedly, I think what's putting him into that for me is that if I was in this setting, him being from a wing, having a life of comfort would be much more appealing than being stuck in the back streets. See, that is very, material of me, but I would like the security he would be able to provide as well. And, everything we see about his personality, he's just a deeply caring, kind individual. So, yeah. And I also decided to put this on the list as well for the Emma and Noah mixture. I don't know why. And it's going in Y. Actually, you know what? No, I'm gonna put. I really fuck with their aesthetic. Actually, I'm gonna put them when they're merged together. And if evil, why hot? They actually no. You know what? I'm gonna. You got the benefits of a built-in menage a trois. You got I like their aesthetic a lot. And they're very they're huge. Like they're like 10, 12 foot tall, something like that. Like they're massive. you know, I actually kind of I really fuck with their aesthetic when they get transformed. And they still have like lots of their personality traits in that, you know, Emma is very caring and taking care of Noah. But Noah gets to like look out for them more here because of the whole, like, you know, I think Emma is like blinded or something like that, like in their new form. And you know, there's a lot to be said about joining their troop, you know. So we'll leave it at that for now. But I'm gonna put him in bottom of Husbandos. Next up, we have Esther and Hubert. I'm gonna put Hubert in acceptable, and Esther would be in like in Husbandos, I think. Don't get me wrong, I really like Hubert's aesthetic. I like both their aesthetics. I like their outfits. They kind of pull it together and it looks pretty nice. But the main thing for me is Hubert is a lot more rigid and like stuck in his ways and views the prescripts much more seriously. Whereas from what I remember, Esther was like, not as opposed to like finding ways around. Like if you found a creative way around a prescript, he was more likely, from what I remember, to like let you go with it. Whereas Hubert was very much a nope, you knew what you did, you fucked up, you know, you're gonna get punished type of thing. As far as like the fingers go, I feel like the index is not as like the thumb for me was very much I would like being involved in the characters from the thumb. I wouldn't enjoy because they're so hard stuck on the rules and like dire consequences. But like now the index, if we're talking about I'm in a relationship with them, I have to follow out all of the brain fart, all the prescripts out if I'm dating them, then that would probably bump them down both a tier. I wouldn't like enjoy being forced to do prescripts. But given the fact that they do and follow the will of the prescripts, and like they're kind of spontaneous, they're willing to go with the flow, you know. So I could see them being a lot more fun, just given the fact that they are willing to go along with prescripts and whatnot. So, you know, there's that going for them, I guess. Next up, we have a triple duty going in the Y category for. Actually, gonna go below. Gyeong-Mi and the gang. We have Jin, Mi, and Wang from the Smiling Faces, and so they kind of have a lot of the issues that these guys have, in that they're very clearly psychopaths. Like they enjoy cutting people up and killing people and stuff like that. But they have the added disadvantage for me in that they base their whole personality off of smoking, and like they're very heavily smoking. And sure, they have fun, but like I really do not like smoking. I don't like the smell of it. It makes me nauseous. I have a medical history that, you know, when I was younger I had cancer, so I really don't want to, if at all like, it's not a deal breaker, but like it very much lowers things a lot from my desire to enter relationships with people that smoke a lot. And so like with that, it being on top of everything else, they're going to the bottom of Y. We got Sen next. I think he's acceptable. We're gonna put him like kind of right around here. He's sort of a man that's like doing a 9-to-5 kind of vibe. Like, you know, he's just doing his job. He's a bit laid back, stoic, like, you know, just like, yep, that's how things are, you know. And maybe a little boring, but there's nothing wrong with him. Like, I could probably see myself getting involved with them, at least in seeing how things play out, but I don't have much going on that convinces me that it would last super long, you know. Next we have Denis and Boris. Boris is going to be going probably like right alongside his boss. Gives me he's got a very similar personality. I'm going to put Denis just slightly above him because he kind of actually they're all going there. Honestly, most of the thumb people, the way they are, I don't fuck with them too much. Which I know is gonna probably seem hypocritical given I put Catriel so high up, but I don't know. She just doesn't give me the same like vibes I have. Like they feel like they would be like unfun to hang out with, whereas she seems kind of cool and chill. I don't know. Maybe that's hypocritical. Lowell, he's gonna go into Best Boys. It's just very clear based off of the interactions he has with his fellow teammates or like the people he works with, as well as his interactions with Zhao and their relationship. He's just a good dude. He's somebody that you can joke around with. He'll joke back. You can have fun with him, but he also can be serious when he needs to be serious. He is willing to put his life on the line for the people he cares about. There's just really He's just all around like a solid package. Next up, we have Nemo. Nemo is gonna go in acceptable. Only reason he's staying on a boring is because, kind of like I mentioned earlier with Emma, he's very well-to-do, and you know, there's a decent chance that if I end up on these good terms with him, I would never have to worry about my financial stability. He's very much, to a fault, focused on, you know, how he can get more money. That's like what his main concern is. But like, you know, he's also kind of fun. At times when we see some of his interactions with the people around him, he's, you know, he's very devoted to his craft, but he's also not against having fun here and there. The very bottom of acceptable. Would be boring if not for the fact that he's loaded. Bada, I think I'm gonna put him at the top of boring. I mean, I still think they're like the prime example of what boring is. So they're gonna stay at the top, but like he's boring. He's high up boring. I like his aesthetic and his outfit and whatnot, but like, there's just not really a lot going on. He's just like very, well, no, he also cared a lot, from what we can see of his, I'll put him here, I think. He seemed much more of like a better person, quote unquote, than I would say Nemo did from what we could tell of him. Like he cared more, but I don't know, we just don't see a whole lot about them. They kind of just get dogged by Argalia and then die. So, you know, when they get into the library. Next up, we have Miris. Miris and Chun are both gonna go in, I would say, high acceptable. I don't remember enough about the nuance of the personalities to tell you like what the difference between them is, but from what I could see of their interactions with Zhao, they seem like decent, you know, people. I just don't really remember anything about them standing out. Lowell, you know, has a lot more going on for him, I feel like, than these two do. So, next up, we have Maxim and Rudolph. And, yeah, Maxim is big, you know, mountain of a man kind of aesthetic. I don't know if that would qualify as teddy bear, but I'll put him, here in acceptable. I think they're both actually pretty hand in hand, pretty even and acceptable, I would say. They have some darker stuff with their personalities and the whole way they are involved in R-Corp, and the whole them having killed hundreds of their clones and stuff like that. Like, you know, like that's a little bit weird, but I don't see a lot about them that like makes me think that they would be like awful. They're just sort of acceptable, you know, like kind of like prime example of acceptable. I'm still gonna put them below Netzach though, because I would take Netzach over them. But like, there's nothing wrong with them, and they're not boring. Like they have enough personalities that I think they'll go there. Next up, we have Harold. And maybe this is the wrong. I don't remember if I put them in the other list. I believe they are trans, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe they're getting double duty. I don't fully remember, but we don't see a ton about that. Like, we see possibly, like, some of the least about them as compared to some of the other characters. That said, from what we do see, they seem like, you know, dependable, straightforward. I like their aesthetic a lot as well. So, I think they're gonna go... We'll put them, like, we'll put them bottom of Husbandos, I think. From what we see of their traits, there's nothing really that would, like, take away from them. I think I'd more actively pursue trying to get to know them better than a lot of the characters in Acceptable. Next up, we have Olivier, and I mean, he's gonna go somewhere around here for now, I think. He is very much like a bro, very good vibes. He very much gets along well with Roland. We see that they clearly like got along well, joked, and he also is a very honorable person from what we can see. Is like, he goes to the library and gives Roland back his stuff, knowing that it's probably going to lead to his death, so that he can have an earnest, honest, like, fight with him, type of thing. Like, you know, I really fuck with his vibes. He's a very, you know, from everything we've seen, like, you know, morally well-adjusted individual. I like his aesthetic. He's great. And then last up, we have Baral. They're gonna kind of, for me, Baral kind of is top of why. There's not much going on with Baral, personality-wise. They're just like a sort of mindless drone type of character that just does whatever he's told. The strongest character on this list, other than maybe you can make, you could probably make a case for Roland, since he does fight him one-on-one for a while in a weakened state and hold his own pretty well. But either way, like, he's very strong, which is neat, I guess. But like, he just doesn't have like anything going on, like personality-wise. And he's got all those weird shit going on with like the injections and like I don't know if that's his face or mask, but I just don't fuck with his vibe, you know. That's kind of all there is to it. And it's kind of funny. I'm pretty sure this is gonna end up being a longer video than my waifus, because I guess there was more male characters to talk about. So, but let me do a quick sweep over and see if I can figure out who I think the best boy is and whatnot. All right, so we have done some sorting. Not a lot. There wasn't much to fix, but you will see I decided to give a crown jewel to one of them. And you might be surprised to see who I put there, but with more retrospection, I really think Emma is just an all-around pretty solid character as far as like I could see myself entering, you know, a relationship with type of thing. I was a little bit mixed up on some of the details because I went back and started looking up some of the things about some of the various characters that were in the Best Boys to make sure I was getting like details right. And Noah was the one that was just that when the circus came, he was headlong ready to jump into it because he was just so miserable with his life and being dependent, you know, that like he wanted to change. And Emma cared enough about him that even though he didn't really want to do that, he still went along with it. Yeah, I'm gonna put Emma for me as my honored one. They'd be my my top pick of choice if I was in there. Don't get me wrong, all these are all pretty great contenders, and these are all like incorrect ordering for like all these various different categories. Actually, wait, no, we're gonna go like that is my tier list. I'll do a quick, scroll down so you guys can see everything. Any thoughts you have, let me know. Like I said, especially about the tier list or the VTube rig. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know suggestions for future tier lists. But thank you all so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed. And next Friday, we will have another tier list going up and ready. So stay tuned for that. We're going to be doing our best to stick to that once a week, having a tier list like this. So until then, stay healthy.